I was walking home in the middle of the night, and for some reason I feared for my life. I felt that at any moment a large creature would jump at me or a serial killer would slither out of the alleys. I saw a store, one that was usually closed, and the white lights drew me in. It wasn't a food store or any type of regular store. The door led into an empty room with a counter. The lights flickered and I felt the wind brush up against my back. I felt vulnerable and I took a step deeper into the store. "Hello?" I called out, but to no response. I looked back through the door. I saw the empty concrete path and the dark alleyways. My heart sped up. Something was definitely wrong. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I closed the door. Relief washed over me. I don't know what sort I've been under, or if it was simply paranoia, but I felt so much better with the door closed. It was as if a man had been pointing a gun at me and now they'd taken it down. "Hello, is anybody here?" I called it again, but I received no response. I saw that there was a camera pointed right at me in the corner. It was blinking red. I waved at it, and the camera stopped blinking red. I heard steps growing louder. A shadow appeared on the wall. It was large, and then I saw a little happy dwarf walk into the room. She wore a green suit. She climbed up onto the chart and looked right at me. "Hello and welcome to the game room. Do you want to play?" she said. I don't know how to put this. It was a very mechanical and rehearsed saying, and she pumped energy into it, but it sounded dead, as if she'd been ruined. "Can I just stay here for a bit? I'm afraid you'll have to exit if you don't want to play." I looked back at the door. My gut really didn't want me to leave the room. How much will it cost? It's free. Red flags immediately popped up, but at the very same time, she said that somebody knocked against the door. They didn't try to open it. They didn't even try to turn a handle. Only a slow monotonous knocking. A drop of sweat glided down from my forehead to my cheek. My heart pounded so loudly it was defending. I didn't have any proof of it, but I knew that I walked through the door I'd die. It was obvious to me. "Sure, I'll play. When am I playing?" The knocking stopped. "Follow me," she said and jumped off the stool. She walked into the hallway and I walked behind her. We walked past many doors. There were silver numbers on the doors that grew. We stopped at the 27th door. She fumbled a ring of keys out of her pocket. All the keys looked the same, but she knew which one was the right for the door. She opened it up and we gestured for me to walk in there. She closed the door and I was locked into a pitch black room. Minutes passed. What have I done? I know for a certain fact that death laid outside of the door, but I hadn't considered that death could lay here too. A spotlight shone into the middle of the room. Then I heard the girl through the speakers. She said, "Sit down where the light shines and close your eyes. The only rule to play the game is not to open your eyes. Close your eyes immediately." I remembered thinking that this was a silly game, but I did as they asked. I sat down where the light shone and I closed my eyes. A few seconds after I did so, I heard the sound of lights being turned on. A door creaked open. It wasn't a door I'd entered through. I heard feet tapping into my room. It wasn't the sound of a human walking, but rather something that moved on four legs. It was too slow to be a dog, and I'd be lying if the sound of those taps approaching me didn't scare me. They got closer and closer, and then they stopped, and it was silent. It shrieked in my right ear. It stung and I felt myself lose balance for a moment. My instinct was to open my eyes and look whatever it was that had screamed into my ears, but I stopped myself. I heard the feet panting around me again, then silence. I braced myself for another shriek. "You can open your eyes now," I heard. It was the girl's voice, but it was now coming from the speakers. How did she enter the room? The only thing that stopped me from opening my eyes was the feeling that there was something an inch away from my face, staring into my eyes. I didn't open my eyes. "Just answer this silly question," I asked. "What was the first thing you said to me?" "Open your eyes and I'll tell you." It was not her. I remember thinking that the instant I heard those words, I stayed silent and kept my eyes shut. I didn't know what the point of this was anymore, but I knew that I had to play this game until the end. "Don't ignore me," it said. I said, "Don't ignore me." I heard an alarm coming from the walls. I felt the hesitation in the creature, but it slowly tapped itself back the way it had come. The door shut, but I kept my eyes shut until I heard through the speaker that the game was over. "Sure, what was the first thing he said to me?" I asked. "You're a smart fellow," I heard. The rest of the hour was completely silent. The creature didn't even try to talk to me. Occasionally, I'd feel hands whipping past my eyelids, but other than nothing. I heard a yawn, and I heard another alarm. The very same thing from before repeated itself. "You can open your eyes," the girl said. Whoa, hello and welcome to the game room. There wasn't even emotion there anymore. I opened my eyes and found her standing in the doorway. She told me to follow her and I was happy too. She walked me back to the first room and opened the door. She took a step out and looked at her left. I did the same and I screamed. It was perhaps 4 meters tall, a ghost-like creature with a bent back and an expression filled with rage. It had 2 holes instead of a nose, and its body was practically bones. "Don't worry," she said. "It won't eat you." It lost at the game. What was that creature? No. This is a different game. If you hadn't entered the game room, then you'd have lost. But I never agreed to play this game. You did. When? When entered without my permission. Have a good night, she said and closed the door. The large creature begrudgingly turned around and walked into the alleyway. I walked home, but I couldn't feel that something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it.